In the heart of rural Wisconsin, nestled amidst sprawling empty fields, stood an old, isolated farmhouse. As dusk settled, a heavy fog would roll in, swallowing the land and shrouding the house in an eerie silence. This was Plainfield, a small, unassuming town where everyone knew everyone, and life moved at a slow, predictable pace. It was here, in this quiet corner of America, that a story of unimaginable darkness was about to unfold.
Ho, ho, ho!
In the mid-1950s, Plainfield was the picture of wholesome, small-town life. But beneath this tranquil surface, a quiet, awkward man named Ed Gein walked its streets, a solitary figure in a world he never quite fit into. Neighbors saw him as harmless, a bit odd perhaps, but ultimately just a lonely bachelor who kept to himself. He was the local handyman, a familiar face who'd pop in to help with chores or babysit the town's children.
Ho, ho, ho!
No one suspected the secrets he kept locked away behind the decaying walls of his family farm. The story begins not with a bang, but with a quiet disappearance. Bernice Worden, the 58-year-old owner of the town's hardware store, vanished on the morning of November 16, 1957. The cash register was gone, and a trail of blood led out the back door. This wasn't the first time someone had gone missing.
Ho, ho, ho!
For years, a cloud of unease had hung over the area as people vanished without a trace, their cases growing cold in the files of the local sheriff's department. Inside the sheriff's office, under the warm glow of a desk lamp, Sheriff Archley reviewed the evidence. The last receipt in Bernice Worden's register was for a gallon of antifreeze. The customer, Ed Gein. It was a small lead, but it was enough.
Ho, ho, ho!
Suspicion, once a distant whisper, now focused on the quiet man living on the outskirts of town, a man who had been seen loitering around the hardware store just before Bernice disappeared. That night, a convoy of police cars cut through the dense fog, their headlights piercing the darkness as they slowly approached the Gein farmhouse. The air was thick with tension.
Ho, ho, ho!
As officers stepped out, their flashlights sliced through the night, revealing a property in a state of advanced decay. The house stood silent and imposing, its windows like vacant eyes staring out into the gloom. Stepping across the threshold was like entering another world. The air inside was stale and heavy with the smell of dust and decay. Every surface was buried under a chaotic mess of junk, old magazines, and strange, unsettling objects.
Ho, ho, ho!
The house had no electricity, and as the beams of their flashlights danced across the clutter, the officers began to realize this was no ordinary hoarder's den. The shadows seemed to writhe and twist, hiding things that defied comprehension. In one room, a flashlight beam fell upon a bowl on a table. It was crafted from the top of a human skull. Nearby, a chair was upholstered with human skin.
Ho, ho, ho!
The officers moved deeper into the house, their horror mounting with each new discovery. Lampshades, leggings, and even a vest were all made from the tanned hides of human beings. On a mannequin head, lit by the stark, single beam of a flashlight, sat a mask made from a human face. It was a scene of such profound depravity that it seemed torn from a nightmare. While his home was being searched, Ed Gein was found and arrested without a struggle.
Ho, ho, ho!
He stood calmly beside a patrol car, the cold moonlight casting him in a ghostly pallor. There was no resistance, no outburst of emotion. He was just a quiet, middle-aged man, his face a blank canvas, as the handcuffs clicked shut on his wrists. He was taken to the county jail, leaving behind a house that would forever be known as a house of horrors.
Ho, ho, ho!
In the stark, sterile interrogation room, under the glare of a single, bright light, Ed Gein began to talk. He sat emotionless, his voice a monotone drone as he confessed. He admitted to killing Bernice Worden and another woman, a tavern owner named Mary Hogan, who had vanished years earlier. But the true depth of his macabre activities was even more disturbing. He told the investigators about his late-night visits to the local cemeteries.
Ho, ho, ho!
Driven by a twisted obsession with his deceased, domineering mother, Augusta, he had been robbing graves for nearly a decade. He would dig up the bodies of recently buried women who resembled his mother, bringing them back to his farmhouse. There, he used their remains to create his ghastly collection of furniture, clothing, and household items.
Ho, ho, ho!
He explained his actions with a chilling, detached logic, claiming he was trying to preserve them, to create a woman's suit so he could become his mother and crawl into her skin. News of the discoveries at the Gein farm spread like wildfire. Shocking headlines screamed from the front pages of newspapers across the country.
Ho, ho, ho!
In the streets of Plainfield and beyond, people gathered in stunned disbelief, their faces a mixture of horror and morbid curiosity. The story of the quiet handyman who lived in a house of human remains became a national sensation. The gruesome details captivated and repulsed the public in equal measure, shattering the illusion of safety and innocence in small-town America.
Ho, ho, ho!
The name Ed Gein was now etched into the nation's consciousness as a synonym for unthinkable evil. The Gein farmhouse, the epicenter of this dark tale, became a macabre tourist attraction. Cars lined the rural roads as morbid sightseers flocked to catch a glimpse of the infamous property. But the people of Plainfield wanted to erase this scar from their town. Before the house and its contents could be auctioned off, it mysteriously burned to the ground.
Ho, ho, ho!
On a cold night in March 1958, the farmhouse was consumed by flames, its secrets turning to ash under the watchful eyes of the townspeople who gathered at a distance. Some whispered it was arson, a final act to cleanse the land of its tainted history. Ed Gein was found not guilty by reason of insanity. He spent the rest of his life in a state mental institution where he was described as a model patient, polite, quiet, and unassuming.
Ho, ho, ho!
He died of natural causes in 1984 and was buried in the Plainfield Cemetery in an unmarked grave, just a few feet away from the very victims he had once unearthed. The story of Ed Gein left an indelible mark on popular culture. His case became the chilling inspiration for some of fiction's most iconic villains. From Norman Bates in Psycho to Leatherface in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Buffalo Bill in The Silence of the Lambs.
Ho, ho, ho!
His legacy is a haunting reminder that sometimes the greatest monsters are not mythical beasts, but the quiet neighbors living just down the road, hiding their true nature behind a mask of normalcy. The fog may have lifted over Plainfield, but the shadow of Ed Gein lingers, a dark chapter in the annals of American crime.
Ho, ho, ho!